Hello sim fans, Racing393 here for another capture. We're going to do a radical SR3 RS. For those of you that don't know, these are sort of like a British made sports car. It's got a carbon steel space frame, very lightweight body, and it uses a tuned Suzuki generation 3 4-cylinder 1500cc dual overhead cam motorcycle engine. Some of these cars also have the more expensive Hayabusa engine in. Now these are sort of, the power for weight ratio is immense, as you're probably aware that a bike weighs like a crisp packet, and it's got an engine in that puts out in excess of 225 odd brake horsepower. Something that weighs very little, as you know. You won't get a better, what's the word, a bang for your buck on a motorbike, to be fair. However, they've put this engine in a four-wheeled car, 225 brake horsepower at the wheels, and it can get this SR3 RSX or RS to 60 miles an hour in just 3.1 seconds. I mean, that is pretty good. They're raced all over the UK. It ranges really, because there's so many different specifications. Sometimes they have a smaller 1340cc 4-cylinder dual overhead cam engine, or the higher 1500cc. Anywhere between 210 and 225 brake horse. That works. They rev to about 10,500 RPM, and the maximum speed can top out at 155. So very lightweight. And to be quite honest with you, a good engineering. The whole thing weighs in at something like £1,200. So you're not going to get a much better price for the sort of performance you'll get out of one of these engines. Very, very reliable engines. The whole field is very, very competitive. If you see these, if you've seen these in real life or on TV. Now, I found out a few things about these cars. End of the day, I suppose there's a lot of people out there like to prefer two wheels over four, and I don't suppose you're going to beat bike performance, but they do tend to put bike engines in cars. There's various different ones, Legends being some of them, on the ovals and on the circuits, and they certainly are very, very competitive. I mean, I think they're just in a standard form. A bike engine is kind of tuned to a state which makes it not only quick but reliable, so you haven't got to piss fart around with it all. I think that's half of it. The fact that it's very lightweight can also mean that it's easily transported around the country in the back of a van or a trailer, what have you. So what we're going to do is we are going to be racing at Brands. It's going to be 12 laps. I have done some tweaking with bits and pieces. I'll tell you now, it doesn't last 12 laps. You could have probably guessed that. It's a shame, because I was putting out some good times in practice, and I went to qualifying, and effectively what happened was I couldn't get the capture card to work. But anyhow, see what you think. Well, before we actually go, yeah, like I was saying, I had trouble with the capture card, so I didn't actually get the capture card working for about an hour. I don't know why. So whilst I was messing around with that, I did do some practice laps. I messed around with some settings on this radical and did a lot of differential changes. It made a huge difference. I was literally 8/10 off. I lowered the AI by 2, so it's down to 92% instead of 94%. and it was pretty good. I then sort of in a bit rush time, I had to put some quick laps in for qualifying, but for some reason I never got a clean lap. So I started at the back, and the car was handling really well. I think I got it pretty much sussed, but for some reason in the race you can see that, well, once it gets away from you, it's gone. There's not a lot you can do about it. And in my true, you can probably hear my chair squeaking there. In my rules and regulations of my own captures, if I crash within a lap, then I can restart. But this was sort of a few laps in. It did hit the barriers reasonably hard, so at that point I decided to call it quits. So one of my goals is to one day actually complete a race competitively, so you've got something to watch. I'm sure you can all have a laugh over what I do, but it's only for entertainment value anyway. I'm not provoked to be like a top sim racer, because I'm not. I'm just doing it for a bit of fun. So I hope you like the intro. I hope you enjoy me babbling on about stuff, and I hope you enjoy the race, what there is of it. Please let me know what you think. Other than that, I'll hand over to you. Hello race fans, Racing393 here for another capture on the Xbox1X with Project Cars 2. We're around BrandsHatch full Grand Prix circuit in a Radical. These are come in two different variations, and I'm in the about 240 brake horsepower version. The other one's a 450, and I found this one's pretty hard to handle as it is. It's not overpowered, very lightweight. I've had to sort of, well, I've had to reduce the AI by 2, so I'm 92% AI, and I found that even though I've reduced that, I'm still 2 seconds off the slowest. Although in practice, I was 0.8 off, and I haven't changed anything. Anyway, here we are for 12 laps of the full GP circuit. A Radical SR3 or something it's called, I can't remember now. Hopefully the beginning of this video will sort of explain a little bit about the Radicals. A very UK based formula, quite at home here at Brands, I would think. Like I probably mentioned there, basically it's what you can build in your shed and go and race at weekends. Well, it's probably a bit more than that, as I know, being from a racing background, but that's the idea behind it. Right, here we go then. Wish me luck. It's always going to be hectic. On the opening lap. Nearly. Now, I've made a little tweak to the setup. Which seems to have made this car transformed into something which I can actually drive. And it's to eliminate the off-throttle oversteer. That doesn't mean I'm going to not crash, but... I think I might have made a little bit of a really sort of a gold mine here with what I found. I'm not saying it's going to make me quick, but considering you take this car out and it's stock value, and you'll be wondering why you can't get around corners. I'm going to concentrate on driving. I might tell you about it at the end of the video. Got the gloves on again. Gives that a little bit of extra feel, like I've said before. I can sort of run the force feedback slightly higher. It seems to cushion in the hands. I need to carry some more speed around that part of the circuit. I'm losing out here a lot. All I'm doing is holding the cars up behind. I'm not actually gaining on the guys in front. There's like a little bit of telltale understeer in the car. Understeer is when the front doesn't grip and pushes on. So you have to put more steering lock in to get around the corner.
That is your fastest first sector time. Keep it up.
I'm trying to just to coach. I can hear the cars behind me gaining on that part of the circuit. Oh no. Oh, what? That snapped oversteer then. And that's because it missed a gear going in. Damn it. There's no way I could catch that. I don't think it's damaged the car. See what we can do from here. Trying to overdrive it, I guess. I apologise about that. That really was a genuine mistake. Not because there was lack of me not normally driving the car, making silly errors. Never mind, never mind. Keep plogging away now. that bend there. It just didn't change gear. So I don't know whether it might be the wheel, you know, the downshift protection, or it's just me.
The new personal best. Great job.
That was just unacceptable. On the slowest corner of the track as well. And I was doing okay, I was keeping up with the pack. I suppose we can try and go for the, not the fastest lap, but the pace. Tyres are getting hot, that's because of the spins, not because of the pace of me.
That's your best final sector so far. Great driving.
Druids is always a very clumsy corner. And that one. So it goes on forever and it's off camber and uphill. Not making excuses, mind. I'm trying to keep it tidy, famous last words. Right, do you know what? Do you know what? What? I hear you ask. Ah, well, that is the shortest rate I'm getting out. I'm getting on my trailer. No, I'm going to put the car on the trailer, load up, go home, and drive all the way home from BrandsHatch in a sulk. Not speak. Get all the way home, stick it in a garage, go online, put an advert up, sell up. That's it. That's not it, but that's what. There's many a conversation I've had in the past like that, in real life. Anyway, that's. Well, I don't know whether I should bother telling you now of the trick I found, because it obviously didn't bloody work, but it was better to drive. And to be honest with you, it is to do with the differential. There's a lot of tuning methods in the diff, far more than I know about. So, anyhow, so that's the end of that one then. So we didn't go to 12 laps. I mean, it looks pretty good on there. Not sure where it is I crashed now. Not sure if it's round here. The sheen bends. No. But these cars, they're all on the same engine, same chassis. So, in theory, should be very, very competitive. As you can see here, they've got very stiff on the suspension. I I mean, I was going to get lapped anyway. Well, I would have been lapped. So that would be one of the shortest race Thursdays ever. Because what I'm going to try and do is put a video up every Thursday. This being one of them. And just see how we go from there, really. It just allows me to do a bit of editing, so it's not quite as or not that loud. So yeah, so I can edit something together so it looks a little bit better. I think this is where I went off actually, and it would damage the car, so there's no point carrying on after that. There, bang. The end. Load up. Go home. Right. Every Thursday we'll try and do a race session. I do promise to try and get better at this. You won't believe how many practice laps I've put in and nothing's happened. And then as soon as I go and record anything, I could delete it, I suppose, but that would ruin some of the fun, I'm sure. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little snippet of Brands. And I'll see you next week on the next race session.